Hey, sensitive. So let's dive a little deeper. If you started the video on boundaries with our feelings, and maybe you found that on social media, I would like to present to you a technique that I use with my clients and one that has actually changed my life, where I can take 5 minutes of really being present and turn a trigger around, or that experience of being emotionally flooded, and to start to feel a lot more clear, a lot more safe in my body. And I've done this work with clients. This is actually a great reason to have a coach or a therapist as well. It is often easy, especially for those of us that are just learning how to do this. It can be easier to have a support system. So I put that little pitch in there. For all of our sakes, we all deserve support when we're in our growing and healing process. And there's so much you can do on your own when you take the time to give yourself the love you need. So once again, this video is about boundaries with your feelings. As a highly sensitive person, a sensitive, just being a little bit extra sensitive, having a lot of those big feelings, deep thoughts, being an empath, it can be overwhelming to get flooded with feelings. If you have a background of trauma, triggers can feel life or death. It can be very overwhelming. And we're not taught how to diffuse the bomb and come down from these triggers. So if you've done any work on this at all, if you're a veteran at this, I bow to you. Let me show you a little bit of what works for me. And if you've never done anything like it, I can relate to that as well. I thought I was doing years of spiritual work where it was a little bit of being dissociative from my body, and I was developing one set of skills, and I sometimes still feel like a beginner coming back into my body. So we're all in this together wherever we are in our learning, okay? All right, so thank you for being with me. Here's a technique that I hope will help you get back into your body and feel a lot better fast when you're having a hard time. All right? So it starts by finding a safe, private place to the best of your ability. I know this isn't easy or possible all the time. There were years when I worked in the restaurant industry and I would go hide in a crowded parking lot in my car on my lunch break, and I did this, okay? So whatever works for you, get into a safe place and do your best to just be present to what's happening to your body, okay? There's a quick decision to be had here. If your body is so escalated that tuning into it actually is making you feel worse, like tuning into your breathing is making you feel worse, then take a moment to focus on what's happening outside of you. And practice this with me right now. It will be a great way to remember it for when you really need it. So just tuning into what's happening right now. What do you see visually? Notice a couple things in the room right now. Colors on the wall. Something that's not moving. Something that maybe gives you comfort. I see a little bag of lavender on my desk. Maybe outside you see a tree or a flower that's comforting. The way the sun is hitting light on glass. And just notice it. What are you hearing right now? Sounds that are further away. Sounds that are closer. What's the temperature where you are? What does the air feel like on your skin? And now take a moment to try to get into your body, even if it's hard. Just notice your breathing. If it's hard to breathe, if you're not breathing, notice that. Sometimes some quick self-love mantras really help here. It's okay that it's hard to breathe. It's okay that I'm having a hard time right now. It's okay that I'm scared or resistant to going into my body. That's okay. Just noticing the rhythm of your breath, noticing yourself in your seated position. And if it's really hard, saying, it's okay that it's hard. I see that it's hard. It's hard for me right now, and I understand. I've been through a lot. If you're comfortable closing your eyes, doing a quick scan. And remember, this is actually going to be a shorter, I have a lot of grounding and meditation videos that you might enjoy when you have 10 or 20 minutes. This is meant to be a quick check-in, together here and now. It's taking a few minutes longer so that I can explain it to you. But this is meant to be something you can do in about 5 minutes. So you've looked kind of, you're in real time. That's helping you get out of fight or flight and out of your mind, because often we're triggered from our mind going out of control and often attacking us, being self-critical, self-judgmental, condemning ourselves, forsaking ourselves. And so by seeing where we are in real time, we're starting to break the trigger and come back into rest and digest. But remember, these are new muscles. So if it still feels really shitty, that's normal, okay? Then you're tuning into your breathing, even if it's hard, and if it feels escalated, and if it even feels worse, as long as it's okay, you know where your edge is. Remember that even that, you're making progress, because sometimes when we put a spotlight on what was already happening, it feels worse, but it was already pretty bad. So if you're like, oh my God, I can't, I noticed that I'm not breathing or my heart's beating fast, just tune in. And as long as you feel like you're right at that edge, if it's too much, you can just stop the exercise and be like, this is too much for me to do on my own. I'm going to just talk to a friend about how I'm feeling, or I'm going to go talk to my coach or my therapist because I can't face this on my own. That is okay, okay? But if it feels like, okay, it feels temporarily worse because you've tuned into it, but you feel safe enough to try a little bit more. Trust yourself about what you think is best for you. So you're tuning into your breathing. I'm assuming that you've decided, because the video is still playing, that you can keep going. You've tuned into your breathing, and you're doing a scan about what's most up for you. What's most uncomfortable? Is it that you're seeing that your mind is still really active? Is it a sensation? That emotional flooding? Just land on what needs your attention most. Just let yourself land there. And if you have resistance to really acknowledging how you feel, let that be okay. Let the resistance be there as well. What's uncomfortable and the resistance to face it, let them be there together, if it's okay with you. And offer it some compassion. Ask this strong sensation. Just check in with it. What's going on right now? What's really going on? Ask the sensation what it needs from you. If the resistance towards any clarity is louder, ask the resistance what's going on, because that resistance is a coping mechanism that's trying to protect you. These coping mechanisms have been built up over time because it wasn't safe to go to these traumatized or triggered emotions or feelings. At one point, it wasn't safe to do that. So that resistance is just trying to protect you. What does it need from you? Can it allow you to access to the point of pain? Once again, if you're not ready and it's a no, then you can come back later. If it's a yes, thank that resistance and ask that part of you again that's really hurting the most what it needs from you. I'm with you in this. Remember, it's okay to not know how you feel. And it's okay to not know what you need. this inquiry and this exercise I'm presenting to you, it's building muscles. And it might feel shitty for a while. It might feel like it did nothing, that it wasn't helpful, or it just took a little bit, maybe one rock off the rock pile. But every rock counts, baby. And you showed up. You showed up for yourself. So now, with whatever you have, if you have a little bit of a sense about what's going on and what you need, tune back into it. Close your eyes if you're comfortable. And just say that you hear that part of you. You hear what's going on, you feel it, and you witness it. And offer it your loving compassion. Offer it words of comfort. What do you need to hear? What would be comforting to hear? I say to myself, I see you. It's going to be okay. It's okay that it's hard right now. It's okay that it's hard. I love you. It's going to get easier. And as we come back out of it, come back into the room, ask that part of you if there's anything it needs from you moving forward, especially if you have to go back into something that was triggering. That was me when I took lunch break at the restaurant and I had to go back and deal with all that nonsense. I would have these mantras that I took with me. I'm going to be by your side, and we'll have time later tonight to really, where I can really hold space for myself and I can go more deeply into that emotion. Or I'll have time in my therapy session, or I'll have time talking to my friend where I can talk about what really triggered me. But I want you to know, I'm saying this to myself, Erin, that I'm going to be there for you and I'm going to have more time for you. But also, when we go back into what's hard, I'm going to be breathing and I'm going to be loving you and reminding you that I'm there. I know I'm kind of confusing things because I'm talking to myself, but I'm giving you an example. So tell yourself what you need, that you're going to be there for you, and that you'll be able to make more time for you when you're off the clock. But in the meantime, I hope that these skills were helpful. I hope that this extended video about having boundaries with your feelings, with that catch-22, the best way to have boundaries with your feelings is to actually, the boundary really is with your mind and what you're saying about your feelings, your story and your perceptions, okay? We all have it. We all have a protective ego. So the boundary is letting your feelings be okay. They're not going to take over you because you're not resisting them and making it a lot more painful by saying things that aren't true. Like you're not good enough, or you can't handle it, or you did something wrong. All those core beliefs that get triggered when we're having a hard time. I hope this video was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And hey, I would love to hear from you about what's working for you, about how you have boundaries with difficult feelings, feeling more than the moment allows, triggers. I'd love to hear your wisdom. And remember that it's collective wisdom that's going to make a difference for all of us in our healing process. I like to think of Mud to Majesty as a community space. So please offer your wisdom, as well as if you need any support, let us know. Okay.